You're listening to the Master Your Brand podcast, the show that's created for business owners just like you who want to elevate, grow, and expand their business knowledge. We chat about various topics in business, branding, marketing, and even creativity. So let's jump in and listen to today's episode with me, your host, Joyletta Shea. Hey there, I'm so excited that you're joining me for another episode of Master Your Brand. And today's topic, we are going to talk about improving your brand strategy. Now, strategy is really a strategic plan. So you can make a plan where you're like, okay, on Saturday, I want to do XYZ. Now, when it comes to the strategy, it's the how you're going to go about doing that. So there are some things of the what, the how, and the why that are mixed in there. But when you have a strategic plan, it's really mapping out how are we going to do what we want to do? How are we going to get to our desired results, objective, or goal? How are we going to do that? So I just want to give you some tips and tricks and just give you some things to think about when you are making a strategic plan, but also how you can take that and apply it with just improving your own brand strategy. So a few things that I want to kind of talk about is you may have some of these things already. You may not have defined some of them, or this might be a process of refining some of those things that you're doing. So I really want you to think about what inspires you in your business, because of course there's the elements that don't really motivate us to do things. Like some of us are super administrative, so we wake up every day like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm ready to administrate. And then there's others that administration is just, it's part of what we have to do, but we don't get any joy from that. And so I want you to think about what are those elements in your business that inspire you. Like one for me that inspires me is being able to just talk and work with the different clients that I have had and the ones that I do have, and be able to just brainstorm with them and create and think through, creatively think through things, critically think through things, and strategically think through things. So as they bring a challenge or something they're stuck in, and I have the ability to sit with them and say, okay, have you thought about it this way? What about doing it this way? And the joy comes from being able to see them, whether it may be years later, the light bulb comes on and say, oh my gosh, like this is, part of what I can do, or thank you so much for helping me think differently about how I'm approaching something. Because a lot of times, being able to bounce those things off of people that just have a very strong strategic and problem solving and creative thinking attribute to them is kind of priceless, although we do put prices on those. So when thinking about what's inspiring you and what problems you're solving or what you're helping your customers do, and why is this important to your brand strategy? Because thinking these things out will help you strategically position yourself to do these things for your customer, to building your brand, to being able to express those things to your audience. So with that, I believe, we all set goals, whether we write them down or they're internalized goals and objectives that we want to achieve. Every year, as we're wrapping up, I can't say we're wrapping up, but we're coming to the end of 2022, everyone starts thinking about their goals and resolutions at the beginning of the year. And I have some friends that usually kind of sit down towards the end of the year and say, okay, what do I want to accomplish next year? What are some of my goals and aspirations? And whatever I feel works for you, for that, I'd say go for it. I know for me, like saying, okay, I'm going to sit down and write a list of goals and I want to achieve those. I'll have things in my heart that I want to accomplish, and then I go for them. A lot of times they're defined by, what God has placed in my heart as a desire to do. And then some are things that I'm like, okay, can I do these things? Can I achieve them? So I want you to take some time to at least write down 3 main goals that you want to accomplish with or in your brand, meaning with your brand, what do you want to do with it for 2022? Or what do you want to do within your brand? Do you want to refresh the look? Do you want to revisit your mission? Maybe that needs a little tweaking. These goals do not have to be something that's immense. They can be things that you might be able to accomplish in a couple weeks, an hour or two. But I want you to be able to write something down and then kind of write those steps in order to achieve that. Now, those steps to achieving that goal is your strategy. That's your plan in order to achieve that particular goal. And so if that is to travel more in your business and make more business connections, then what are those steps that you need to take? Go to networking events, do virtual, in person, word of mouth, ask your previous or current clients to share their testimony with other people to garner. Now that's the plan. How are you going to do that? Now it's time to step into how are you going to ask your clients? How are you going to do the traveling? That is your strategic plan or your strategy on how you're going to achieve those things. Now, strategy seems to be, it is a very firm and powerful word. But what I want to say is that strategy can be super simple or it can be very complex. Now, it depends on what type of strategy that you're putting together and how complex those steps are to achieve the goal, or how simple the steps are to achieve, the goal. So I want to, and I know I kind of have been saying this a lot in my in my episodes, but I want to demystify these terms that we have heard over and over and over and bring them down to this conversational type of aspect for us, that strategy is not a scary word. It may sound scary because, you may have to add certain things or, do certain things, or you may say, oh, I have like 5 steps for this one thing, but it's okay, because I feel like as we go along this journey and we demystify some of these things and make them more palatable for us to be able to work with, then you'll be less, and I'm not saying you are afraid, but that anxiety or some of that fear that tries to creep in will be non-existent. So as you are building on this and thinking of your strategy, visit your mission, visit your vision, look at it. Are you taking the steps to achieving those? Because strategically, are you making choices and decisions that are going to lead you to and or help you effectively achieve the vision and mission? And so there are goals that come out of your mission. There are goals that come out of your vision. What are those things that are going to help you achieve that? And that's part of your strategy. Now, sometimes because, I've had friends that are very A, B, C, D, you have to do this before this, then this. I have had the approach of life where, okay, A works now, C, we're going to do C. B may not even be needed. And that sometimes is a strategic brain where you can get to the end result, and maybe B isn't necessary to achieve the same results, where others are like, B is absolutely necessary because of this. Now, there are times where you may have to do one thing before the next in order to achieve the goal that you're doing and do things in order. But that does not mean that everything that you do to reach the result that you want has to be done in some strategic order. There just needs to be strategy to what you want to do and a well thought out plan. I have seen it so many times where people will jump out there to do stuff and they haven't made a plan, or they haven't even thought about, okay, what's going to be the result on the other side? What is the result that I want? And what I really want those that listen to my podcast is to think differently about some of the things that we have encountered majority of our life. How do we see this? What is our perspective? Looking at it from another point of view. And that's why, having a collective of creative people sometimes will help because that's how they are wired. They're going to see it that way. And there's value in that. I want to, on both sides, to those that are in business or are more prone to doing things a certain way, there is value in those that are around you that do not think like you, because then you're able to maybe even achieve more than what you set your own, self to achieve. Now, it goes both ways too, because sometimes, yes, as creatives, we may have 30 million options of ways that things can be done, which can be overwhelming for people that have to do things one thing at a time. So sometimes narrowing down the options that we give is helpful for some. Some, they want all the options. They want, lay it all out on the table, and I'm going to pick the one that I feel might be best and then move from there. So the other thing is, what are the clients that you want to work with? What does that look like? That dream client, has that shifted to what you may have written down before? And how are you going to encounter, inspire, or engage or communicate with or to that dream client? Who is that person? Where do they live? What's their age? What's their name? Give them a persona, because when you can connect with the persona, it's easier for you to say, this is who I want to sell to. I totally understand who I want to sell to. Now, sometimes, and I want to, again, kind of bring some balance to that, there is who you want to work with and who you end up working with. And sometimes they align and match up, and then sometimes they don't. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but you want to, sometimes we naturally attract certain people that we work with in our businesses. Are those people that you want to work with? If not, what is it that you're doing? And there may not necessarily be something that you are actively doing that you know of, but what is happening, I'll say it like that, in the essence of what's propelling you in working with those type of people. So there's a couple more things that I want to point out as we are talking about this. And of course, I'm always going to do a shameless plug of future episodes that I'm going to work on, episodes that I've already have talked about some things if you haven't jumped into any of those. And this is your first time and you're listening for the first time. So I want to talk about tone. So tone is kind of important too, because this kind of determines a little bit of how you say what you say, and what that messaging is, like how you put that messaging together. Remember, strategy is kind of how you're going to do things. You kind of have your what, which is your goals and your objectives. You may have your why, which is kind of a mission of something that you want to achieve within whatever it is that you're doing overall, or just a project, etc. So our strategy is how we're going to get that result. How are we going to get there? How are we going to do it? So when you are building kind of and thinking of your tone, and it may shift or you may need to shift based upon who you're trying to talk to, you want to think about, like, where do you fall on the funny to serious side? Are you kind of in the middle? Are you casual or formal in how you say things, in your tone, and how you carry yourself as a brand? Are you respectful or are you not? Like, these are things to think about when you are building this brand strategy and improving the things that you want to do in your brand strategy, because tone is important as you are figuring out how you want to do things, how you want to say things, or how you say things is very important. Now, a couple of last things. Style. When we think about our brand, what is the style of our brand, and improving, how we present ourselves as far as style. We all know we have people, some are very plain in their style, some are very flamboyant, some are bright, some are very creative, some, they're very serious in their style. And so what type of style do you want for your brand? Because all that I'm saying, of course, I know I try to bring it back home to understand how you present yourself and how people see you kind of can be two things, but you want to align them. So how they see you is how you want to present yourself, is how you want them to see you. So if your style is a little bit of modern, there's nothing wrong with that. Are you classic, where you like to be, the kind of the same style of pieces, where classic to me never goes out of style. It is something that, of course, it stays around. Classic a lot of times also speaks a certain thing to people as well. Your brand could be more of a feminine brand. It could be more of a neutral in the middle where, it works for both men and women. You could be serious or playful in your style. There might be a little whimsy in there. And so all of these things are important to understand, because then this is how you strategically place yourself in the marketplace. Knowing these things brings you confidence, because you're like, yeah, I'm super modern. Like, I don't even care about classic. And understanding that and knowing that means that you don't really have to entertain classic. People that are more classic in nature in their business, then that's who they are. And sometimes we compare ourselves in general. And sometimes we take our businesses and we compare our businesses to other people. But just like us as people are individuals and we have our own style and personality to ourselves, your brand is the same. And how you use that in the marketplace is your brand strategy. So, like I've always said, branding is immense. There's so many pieces to it. Not to overwhelm you, but to inform you and help you compete in the marketplace with confidence. So I'm deciding whether or not I'm going to do a part 2 to this brand strategy to help you improve some of those things that you are doing. But I will say, all the things that I've shared, take a moment, sit down, write those out, see where you are aligned in those areas, where you are not, how you can get aligned, and then start putting some goals and some objectives on how you're going to accomplish these things, how you're going to show who you are and your style, your stylish self in the marketplace. How are you going to present your tone if you're a little bit more funny? Like, we all watch those Geico commercials. They're pretty funny. Liberty has come up with funny ones. Allstate with, mayhem are hilarious to me. Now, other people may not find them funny, but remember, each brand speaks to people in a certain way. So I might think they're hilarious and other people are like, this is just so stupid. Like, it's not funny at all. That's okay. We all make the world go round. So go out there, be your stylish self in the marketplace, and just do it with confidence. And I hope that you'll tune in into one of my future podcast episodes, or you'll jump into one of my old ones if this is your first time. So go out there, be brave, be bold, and be courageous. Thanks for tuning in to the Master Your Brand podcast. I hope that something in today's episode encouraged you, elevated, and or even grew you. If you liked today's episode, make sure you give it a like and hit the subscribe button so you can get notified of new episodes. Well, until next time, you are the master of your brand and the captain of your business.